It was Father's Day weekend of 2001. And then the 9/11 was just a few months later, and you can't go in the Crown anymore. So I was really glad. One of my friends made me get up early and go. It's only the first boat over the day, the first ferry over the day that gets to go up to the Crown. She like dragged us out of bed, made us go. And I was so mad at her on that day, and I'm so grateful now. So.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's a good story. I like that one. And I think we're live, and I'm glad everybody could hear that story. That's awesome. All right. We are officially live at this point, and if I am reading this correctly, I do think we're missing a quorum. At this point, let me write down who I see that's here. In no particular order, I see Council Vice President. I see Councilor De La Cruz. I see Councilor Gonzalez. What else am I seeing here? Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's me. So we need one more member. We have one more member to get to a quorum. And I appreciate everybody is here on a timely manner. I do appreciate that. As you know, we can't start the meeting without a quorum. And John, I would hope that if you're just monitoring the waiting room, just in case a city councilor does go in there and I'm not seeing it. Thank you. Again, if you're watching this live at this point, as a reminder, this is now after 7 o'clock. We need 5 members to have a quorum. And right now we're at 4. I do expect to have a quorum this evening. And then we will begin the meeting promptly with our 5th member. Outstanding. So we will start the meeting here momentarily. And while we're waiting for Councilor Levy to sign in, I am going to start with the meeting. So today's a public meeting of the Lawrence City Council. Today is April. I got the wrong date on here. April 20th. And let me read the legal stuff here. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public meeting of the Lawrence City Council for the City of Lawrence, Mass. Is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and or view this meeting while in progress by use of Facebook and the YouTube web access sites referenced in this agenda notice. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearings designated for the public comment and by use of the web and phone access provided at the Lawrence City Council Facebook page and the Lawrence City Council YouTube page, and of course right here on the Zoom page. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Levy,
Present.
Councillor Gonzalez,
Present.
Councillor Selena Reyes, Councillor Selena, Councillor Abdul, Councillor Abdul, noted. Councillor Payano, Councillor Payano, Councillor De La Cruz,
Present.
Councillor Rodriguez, Councillor Rodriguez, noted. Councillor Estela Reyes,
Present.
Council President LaPlante.
Present. Will you please join me now in a moment of silence? Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
Under God,
under liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you, counselors. John, if you can do this right now, let the folks in the waiting room before we start public participation. I also wanted to let the council know that that Mr. Abdu won't be joining us this evening. He is out of state dealing with a family health emergency, but he, I'm sure, wishes us all the best this evening. At this point right now, we are going to go into public participation. Very few simple rules about public participation. No more than 2.5 minutes. No one can address individual counselors, must address the council as a whole. And by our rules, the amount of time total for public participation is limited to 30 minutes, so we can move on with other council business. If you wish to speak this evening during public participation, I ask that you identify yourself, your name, and your address, so that the folks who are keeping a record of this are able to do so. And also, I will ask you if you could just use the hand waving device on the Zoom, and I'm going to go through it as I see it. The first person in this particular order, and we will go through it. I see former Mayor Dan Rivera. I then see school committee member Cassie Infante. I see those two to start off with, and we will go on from there. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor, you have the floor. And welcome.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I come before you tonight as a citizen of the city, as a kid from Lawrence who went to Lawrence Public Schools. I attended the Leonard School. And although we have tried, at least for the 7 years that I was mayor, we tried so much to keep up the HVAC and the roofs and the windows.
How can I raise my hand? Please.
Oh,
Mr. Mali, I got you. Continue on, Mr. Mayor.
sorry. We tried very hard to fix all those things in most of the city schools. The Oliver is a school that was beyond repair, as you know, and to the point where we had to figure out a way to rebuild it to fit more students. And so the vote before you tonight is really about how we advance education in our community. Two things that I would like to leave it, because I don't want to leave too much information, is the idea that we cannot afford this. I would say to you, knowing pretty well the finances of our city, that we can afford this. And frankly, the question is, can we not afford it? If we don't treat these education of our students in such a high caliber, it will eventually be a problem. We can afford this, and thank God for $56 million coming from the federal government on the COVID front. That should more than cover the debt that's out there. But more importantly, even if we end up paying a lot, I'm telling you, it's what we have to pay for a civil society. It is what we owe to these children of these immigrant kids who come here. The second point that I want to talk about is the idea that once we build this, that it still won't be enough space for kids anyway. Mr. President and members of the council, what I would tell you tonight is, if you need a house and you got 8 kids, any house will do. Any house will do. And right now, we don't have a house for those kids who are now at St. Mary's because the boiler is so broken that it flooded the basement. We cannot, in good conscience, build a new police station, which we're on the verge of doing, and not build a new Oliver School. We cannot, in good conscience, do that. My time as mayor ended, and we're going on to a different time with new mayors and new leadership, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But if I had stayed longer, this would have been a very important thing to get done. I know that we could do both things, all things. Mm-hmm. But again, we cannot, in good conscience, build a police station at the same time say no to a brand new school. Thank you so much. Remember, a vote today is a vote for our kids. We can afford it. And if we need a house, any size will do. Let's build this so that we, by the way, no one cares about our kids like we care about our kids. So yeah, the state's only going to pay 50%. They should pay 80. But you know what? We
you,
care
Mayor.
about our kids. Let's do that.
Thank
Mr.
you,
President,
Mayor.
I hope that we can get your
Good
vote
point,
tonight,
Tom.
and we hope we get everybody else's vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got a lot of people who wish to speak, and I need to move this along. We're going to go in this particular order. Ms. Infante next, then Representative Frank Moran, Jessica Andors, and then Mr. Molly, and the list continues. So in that order. School Committee Woman Infante, you are up.
Thank you. Cassie Infante, 3 Star Terrace. I will be as concise as possible, but I'm also here as a school committee member to urge city councilors to support the construction of Oliver Partnership School. I agree with much of what Mayor Rivera has just stated, but I'm also asking you to propose a motion to write a letter advocating for the updating of the MBSA reimbursement formula. So making sure that the Massachusetts School Building Authority has a more equitable policy in place for gateway communities like Lawrence. The state has let Lawrence down. They were supposed to fund 80% of this project, and now they're breaking that promise, putting the burden on our city. This is an issue of education justice, and justice, as we know, means that we are building systems of policy that work better for more of us. Of course, our community agrees there's no dollar amount for what our children are worth, and we must move this forward project no matter the funding source. However, it is imperative that we make clear to our state delegation the ways in which state funding has let us down. And updating this formula would be very important for equitable future funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Frank Moran.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Council President, since, if you allow me, I'd like to say it in Spanish as well, because as you know, 90% of the people in Lawrence are Latinos. I would like to say it in both languages, if it's okay with you, Council President.
The time remains the same, Representative, as long as you translate exactly in both languages. I'm okay with that.
What, 3 minutes? Is that what it is?
2.5 minutes, sir.
Oh, wow, I won't have to. Then I won't have enough time then. So I'll say it in Spanish because I think everybody's going to say it in English. So might as well. I got to address the Latino community as well. So I'm going to say buenas noches y gracias por invitar a los miembros de la delegación del estado de Lawrence a unirse a todos ustedes para tener una conversación sobre la Oliver Partnership. La financiación de la escuela Oliver ha sido un tema que se ha debido durante mucho tiempo.
Representative.
Yes.
You're addressing the city council, and there's a number of us who may not be able to speak or understand, quite frankly, the language. And so as a respect to those who are unable to understand that, I would ask if you could just do it, the brief talking points in both, so that that we can benefit from your points.
I will do it in both, my friend. Thank you. La financiación de la escuela Oliver ha sido un tema que ha sido debatido durante mucho tiempo en la ciudad de Lawrence. Pero ahora es el momento de comenzar a tomar medidas para construir un futuro mejor para nuestros estudiantes en las generaciones que vienen. Nosotros como ciudadanos encontraremos en una coyuntura crítica y entiendo que el futuro de la escuela Oliver se ha convertido en un tema que cada vez más polémico entre este organismo. Sin embargo, es nuestro deber como funcionarios electos elevarnos por encima de la política y hacer la mejor de nuestra comunidad y nuestra ciudad. Las condiciones actuales de la escuela Oliver son simplemente inaceptables y suponen una carga indebida para nuestros estudiantes y maestros. Estoy seguro de que todos ustedes escucharon a muchos de los estudiantes y padres que asistieron al meeting de la semana pasada en el parque. Las condiciones actuales dentro de la escuela Oliver son simplemente insatisfactorias y causan increíble grado de interrupción tanto para los estudiantes como para los maestros. Como podemos esperar, los estudiantes prosperan en aulas que se están desmoronando. Y a su vez, ¿cómo podemos esperar que nuestros maestros eduquen a nuestros estudiantes lo mejor que puedan cuando nosotros como ciudad no les brindamos un eterno académico para tener éxito? Algunas de las historias se compartieron, al menos la reunión de una semana, profundamente inquietantes y deberían resaltar la necesidad urgente de un edificio nuevo y actualizado de la escuela Oliver. Cuando tenemos estudiantes de 5º grado diciendo que no pueden aprender porque están constantemente expuestos a insectos, pintura que se está cayendo del rufo, es hora de actuar y debemos actuar ahora mismo. Nuestros estudiantes se merecen lo mejor. Solicito respetuosamente que estos organismos tomen inmediatamente a aprobar un nuevo edificio de la Escuela Bolívar y mi complace ofrecer cualquier ayuda que pueda brindarle como representante estatal. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting the members of the Lawrence delegation to join you all for the conversation about the Alba partnership. Funding for the Alba School has been a long discussed topic in the city of Lawrence, but it's now time to begin taking actions to build a better future for students for generations to come. We as city at a critical juncture and understand the future of the Alba School has become an increasingly contentious issue among this body. However, it is our duty as elected officials to rise above politics and do what is best for our community and our city. The current condition of the Alba School is simply unacceptable and placing undue burdens on our students and teachers. I'm sure that you have heard from many of the students and parents that attended last week's rally on the park. The current condition with the Alba School are simply unsatisfactory and cause an incredible degree of disruption for both students and teachers. How can we possibly expect students to thrive in a classroom that are falling apart? And in turn, how can we expect our teachers to educate our students to the best of their ability when we as a city are not providing them with an academic environment to succeed? Some of the stories that we shared at last week's rally are deeply disturbing and should highlight the urgent need for a new up-to-date Oliver School building. As most of you know, that was my alma mater. I attended the Oliver School back in the early 80s. When we have fifth graders saying that they cannot learn because they are constantly being exposed to insects, peeling paint, etc., it is time to act, and we must act now. Our students deserve better. I respectfully request that this body takes immediate action to approve a new Oliver School building, and I'm happy to offer any assistance that I may be able to provide as your state representative. Thank you, Council President, for allowing me to the 2.5 minutes. I know I went a little over, but I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Thanks for all your good work in the legislature.
Yeah, I did it a little quick, fast, but I tried my best.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank
We need to move along to let other people speak. Mr. Mali, you are next.
Good evening, Humayun Ali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. We demand of you in a greatest global pandemic, support Lawrence Police Department and their union. Contract for Lawrence Police now. We the Laurentian are proud of leadership by Honorable Kendrick Vasquez, such a great leader. In a short time that he has been as our mayor, he created Commission on Human Rights, start repair the museum square, and initiate vaccination of our citizens. We are proud of such a great leader. In this global pandemic, Lawrence Police Department, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Roy Vass, has done excellent job to protect our citizens. We are united to say Blue Lives Matter. Lawrence police officers need a contract and we support their union. In this dark human history era of global pandemic, our DPW workers are working so hard. We support their leadership and union. Lawrence Public School with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Superintendent Cynthia Paris as a true leader who guide our public school from Columbia gas disaster to the pandemic of the COVID-19. This great leader need our support to creating the Oliver School, rebuilding Oliver School. Our city, the great immigrant city, are aware, proud to support the union of our police department, firefighter, and our teachers. Lawrence always is strong. Lawrence always unite. Support Superintendent Cynthia Paris in Oliver School. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mali. Next person speaking is Jessica. Is it Dimo? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
It is Demel. Thank you.
Name and address, please. Record.
I live in Somerville, but I'm the principal of Up Academy Oliver Middle School, and I'd like to share a video produced by our community for our testimonial.
Go right ahead.
We have to take instructional minutes away from students because we have to deal with things that are the building. There are classrooms that are so incredibly small that having 24 to 30 kids, you can't walk between desks. Inconsistencies and heat.
There's only 2 outlets in a room. Like, how is that feasible if right now, trying to use a computer? It's distracting if you have to have a bucket in your room because your ceiling's leaking. Our gymnasium, it was closed for half the year last year because of the roof. They did gym class in classes. but even our dance teacher is in an old classroom.
I don't know if you guys understand, but it's really distracting when the teacher's trying to teach something or we're independent and we hear like kids screaming in the hallway from other schools.
You see the kids in newer facilities. They're like, we got to be careful with this. Weatherby had just opened up. Kids would talk about trying to find an address in a district in that section of the city just to be able to go to a school like that.
Our students transition to 3 different schools. So just from kindergarten into first grade, and then for elementary school into middle school.
So if it's a K-8 school, the older kids are basically mentors to the younger kids. Like you could clear the path for them and teach them how to not slip up and fall.
They really want to have their own place to call their own. The future is very important to me, and my kid is the future, and so are these kids. I'd rather see another school open, another nightclub, another bar.
Si quisieran detener este proyecto, yo
Okay.
I'm very sorry, my computer, something happened to my internet.
Okay.
But as you can see, our community is very committed to our new school, and you are the only ones who can give this to us. So please, we ask you to support our students in our community with a new school with upgraded facilities so that our students can have the best learning environment possible.
Thank you very much, Principal. We do appreciate it. I skipped over, my apologies, to Jessica Andors, followed by Representative Devers. Ms. Andors, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. No worries. And thanks for the opportunity to address you all, councilors. So I am speaking to you with several hats on today. I'm a Lawrence Public School parent. I'm an LAE board member, and I'm also a neighbor to the Oliver Partnership School as I live 2 or 3 blocks from there. What I want to say is our city is growing. And it's not growing because we're building more housing or because we're finally, after decades of neglect, investing in our schools and expanding our schools. It's growing because it is and always has been a magnet for families who are looking to get a great start here in this wonderful country. And because it's growing, we need to grow with it. And we need to make sure that everyone gets the best start they possibly can to unlock all the positive potential that they could bring to this community. Our schools are a huge part of that effort. The Oliver Partnership School Project has been in planning for many years. It's gone through every part of the process, from community planning with parents, teachers, administrators, students, public officials, to repeated steps in front of the LAE board and the council that have all garnered approval. This is a major, incredible project that's going to double the capacity of a school in the central city where we need it the most. And it's a project that the LAE strongly supports, that parents and teachers strongly support, that students need, and that the city needs if we're going to be able to continue all of the hard work, won progress that we have made in this city towards becoming that amazing launching pad for the talent and the achievement that we have in our young people in this city. So I think former Mayor Rivera said it wonderfully in saying that this is a project that we can't afford not to do. And you've heard all the testimony, and you're going to hear more, I'm sure, about the condition of the school. We need to invest in our kids. This is worth it. Our city is growing, our tax base is growing. We have the resources right now to be able to do this, and we're going to hurt much worse later if we don't do something like this. So I urge you, please, to support this project and vote in favor of moving the Oliver Partnership School forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Devers.
Good evening, Council President Mark LaPlante and distinguished members of the council, of the City Council, also members of the school committee and the audience present. It is a great pleasure to be addressing this group of concerned citizens. As another concerned citizen, as a father that has children educated in the city of Lawrence, as a former teacher at Lawrence High School and the vocational school, as the husband of a former teacher at Oliver School, my wife, Victoria Devers. But mostly and specifically as a citizen of the city of Lawrence. As a parent, as a grandparent, I think that we need quality of life across the board, and our kids deserve that quality of life. The best environment for education. And I know that this formula from the school authority of the state is not just to us. As a state representative, along with my colleagues, and I echo those words of my colleagues and former mayor and other previous speakers in support of this construction. I do my best as a state rep, along with my colleagues, to pursue more funds for our city to make this dream come true. Our city, our citizens, our parents, our kids deserve a school with that scope of quality. Why not? We just have to do it. We need some time
2 minutes
to face the risks to get our goals. So on behalf of our kids, I will ask you to support the construction of the Oliver School. I'm counting us at the State House. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Representative Devers. I was remiss, our clerk reminded me that I need to address this. If the only person that we missed so far, I think, is Jess Andors. Jess, can you just give us your address real quick for the record?
Sure, it's 3 Jackson Terrace in Lawrence.
Thank you very much. The next person is School Committee Member Joshua Alba, followed by Shalimar. Please help me with the pronunciation of your last name. We'll get to you in a second. Very good. We'll go with School Committee Member Alba. You got the floor for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Council President. Sup, City Council. Sup to all the youth. What's going on, kids? And all the teachers. School Committee Member Josh Alba. Thank you to the state delegation for being here as well, and former Mayor Rivera as well, and the LAE members, Lawrence Alliance for Education. Yeah, no, I'm just here to I was at the protest, heard all the kids speak. We've been knowing that the Oliver School has been in really bad condition for many years. And, but honestly, I had no idea it was that bad. I had no idea it was that bad. And I really want to thank you all for speaking up and making it known to everybody that's not paying attention to it, or just, prioritizing other things. Like I'm an activist and organizer myself, so high five, everybody. Sometimes we got to do that for the things that we care about. But yeah, no, so City Council, yeah, I keep on hearing about stuff in the community about the possibility of taxes needing to be raised because of this thing, because the loan that we have to take out in order to raise the capital or have the capital to build it. I don't look at the budget as closely as former Mayor Rivera has, so I don't know what the financial situation is, but I'm curious about that, and I want to hear more about what we're going to have to do if we do this. But regardless of what we're going to have to do, we have to build another school for sure. Like, absolutely. This is not an excuse or a reasoning to not build it. But I think there's power in the City Council to also, and the state reps and the state senators are here, thank God. I'm wondering about what's up with that, the fine goals legislation and the state, at the State House, with what they're doing with that MSBA reimbursement thing. I think the City Council should at the very least send a letter advocating for that percentage to be, or that formula to be reformulated to include gateway cities like ours, marginalized communities that, facing deindustrialization and urban sprawl and all that stuff. And, we hear that our tax base is going up, but it's far from, the levels that it was when all the mills were here. And we lost a major mill this past year because of COVID. I think the place that does the ballerina shoes and stuff, which I think had like 200 something employees, that's a major loss. A lot of people out of work and on, relying off the system. And we're not getting the resources that our community needs, that $2,000 a month, cough, cough, wheeze, wheeze, we need that. But yeah, so thank you ahead of time for approving the building of this building that is so desperately needed. And thank you ahead of time for sending a message to the state delegation, to the state house period, and the state senate to pass whatever legislation that is necessary to get this the reimbursement back up to 80%.
Thank you, Mr. Alba. Just as a reminder to everybody, we are running closely out of time at this point with less than 6 minutes left. The next person is Shalimar Quiles, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced. I couldn't hear pronunciation. Quiles. You have the floor. Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. Good evening, council members, and all those on today supporting the Oliver School project. So proud of my students and my parents who are here today. As I mentioned, my name is Shalimar Quiles, and I'm fortunate enough to serve our city in lots of ways, including as a contributing resident, a homeowner, and the current principal of the Oliver School. I want to echo the comments of Mayor Rivera and Jess Anders, and because I think it's critically important for us to hear from our families. I've added actually all of their names in the chat very early on in this meeting, and I'd like to defer with the approval of the council here the rest of my time to one of our parents, Isamar Herrera.
Isamar Herrera, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Principal.
Thank you guys for having me. My name is Isamar Herrera, 107 Lexington Street in Lawrence, a mother, a parent of the Oliver Partnership School. I am here on behalf of my child and my children who expect to attend the Oliver Partnership School moving forward. In preparation of this meeting, I went ahead and I looked at the April 6th City Council meeting, and I wanted to bring up a couple of points. And what I want to say is, our children need this, our children deserve this. We have had our taxes raised to have parks rebuilt that did not need to be rebuilt, to have highways rebuilt that did not need to be rebuilt. And for some reason, the traffic was not an issue then. It should not be an issue now, and our kids need this regardless of what the cost will be. And I will not send my kid there regardless of what your decision is today. And I'm sorry, but it is very emotional for me to have to speak on behalf of my kids and have you guys here question it. You say that this is not a high school. It will house kindergarten through 8th grade if it is rebuilt. And the study does show that at the end of the day, our children at a young age have to, basically what they learn now will affect them for the rest of their future. So yes, it is not a high school, and perhaps under your standards, it may not be as important, but under our standards, it is. And everything shows that what we do for them today will affect the rest of their future. Thank you.
2 minutes.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jennifer Ramos.
I'd like to speak too, sir.
Jennifer Ramos, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I'm an educator for Lawrence Public Schools, and I have been at the OPS for 8 years. I want to describe for you the conditions of the current OPS building while you reflect if these are the conditions our students deserve. A rotten, infected building, windows that do not open or no ventilation, a heating system that does not work, a roof that leaks and paint that falls into our students, no science lab to do our experiments, no library, no suitable place for a playground area, one set of bathroom for approximately 500 students, a cafeteria and a flooded basement without sufficient space, among other issues. Developers, engineers, and architects asked the faculty years ago what our basic needs were for our school building. We replied and they agreed. Now we have this information. We might have to go back to the unsuitable conditions. Are students not worth the investment? Research states that there is a strong relationship between poor students' achievement and poor school building conditions. Let's call this for what it is. Inequalities among our schools. Would you like your children to attend a school building like this? Would you want to work in a school building like this? Moving towards a multicultural philosophy where education is fundamental for all students, the least we can do is give our students a safe physical building suitable for learning. Our students have so many obstacles that they have to overcome without any fault of their own. Can we at least provide a place that doesn't state to them that they are inferior, that these are the conditions that they deserve? Because soon they will begin to believe that this is their placement and a reflection of what they are worth. Let us break the cycle, allow these students to be part of their school where the environment indicates the possibilities are endless for them too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jesse Dymock, pronounce that last name correctly?
Hi, Jesse Dimick, thank you.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody. I am a teacher and a resident of Lawrence, and I just want to say that as a resident, I do not want to live in a city that spends more money on a police station than a school, but I do want to live and teach in a community that invests in education and spends money where it is most needed, our students and their learning. I teach at Up Academy Oliver, and I see firsthand the effect of a deteriorating building on students. If we want students to learn, they need to feel safe. They do not feel safe in the current building. I also saw the student-teacher protest firsthand from my school window last Thursday and greeted the students on the sidewalk. They want a new school and they raise their voices to protest the decision. Who are we if we don't listen and show them that their voices matter? That is a very powerful and clear message at a very young age. So I implore you to think about the learning that happens when students feel safe, secure, and appreciated. That does not just come from teachers, that comes from a building that shows how much we believe in and love our students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. We are rapidly running out of time. Marta Dominguez, probably our last speaker with over 30 minutes. Marta, you have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Marta Dominguez. I reside on Broadwell Street in Lawrence, Mass. I'm here in full support of the Oliver School project. I graduated from the Oliver School in 1990 after 4 years of attendance, one of the best schools I ever attended. Teachers were great, but as the years went on, we saw the conditions deteriorate. This school has been around for decades and is a part of Lawrence history, and it deserves to be brought back to life. Our children need that and deserve better. We don't want our children to fail based on the horrid conditions of their environment. They need to feel safe in every aspect. I ask that you guys take this very seriously and very much into consideration. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. That was relatively
President,
quick.
Mr. President,
Councilor, please. That was Mr. Payano is requesting the floor. For what purpose do you rise, Mr. Payano?
Mr. President, I'd like to, I'm aware that there's a certain time that you've set for this. There is a young student that I see in front of me that has had his hands raised. If possible, if we can make one exception for this young man to say whatever it is that he's going to say.
We have room for one more speaker, Mr. Payano. And
Thank you, Mr. President.
who are you looking at specifically, Mr. Payano?
There's a young man named Andy Leonardo.
Andy Leonardo, and by the way, you'll be our last speaker this evening. For those members of the public this evening, this is not your only opportunity to speak on this matter. There's other opportunities by email, etc. But right now, Andy, you have the floor. You have 2.5 minutes. For what reason does the member rise, Mr. Rodriguez?
I would like to make a motion to go above the 30 minutes on the ordinance to allow the public to speak until there is nobody that don't want to speak anymore.
There is a motion to suspend the rules to allow to continue with the public participation, remaining with the 2.5 minutes, I presume, but until the time is exhausted. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Payano. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councilor Payano?
Yes.
Councilor Abdul? Noted. Councilor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilor Levy?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
The chair votes yes. At this point, here's who I have listed, and this is the remaining people. I got Andy Leonardo, I also have Rich Russell. I have Anna Tavares. I have Anna Batista and Marlene Paulino. And that,
Excuse me, Councillor LaPlante. I added a number of parents on the chat at 7:05 to contribute this evening. Thank you.
Miss Indy Leonardo, you have the floor.
Thank you. As a student of OPS, I would think that our school is not the best because the walls are just all over the place. The bathroom, there's only one bathroom for the whole school, one bathroom for the boys, one bathroom for the girls. And with the ceilings dropping on students and teachers and only getting painted once a year, it's really not as much powerful as you think it is, because the only reason we're doing this is because our school is so old. It's more over than 200 years old. So we would always love and appreciate if you'd always make us a new school, please and thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one is, I believe, is Anna Tavares.
Good evening, councils. The condition, the education is very important for parents and for society and city. The big city, the most important is education, and the children in this school is not have a good condition. It's not only the children, the student. It's saying the parents saying to the teacher. Teachers can feel safe. The children can be safe, and a student, he needs to prepare and take everything safe for all children and the parents. It's difficult to say the parent go to work very safe, and the parent and the children not safe because the building is not safe, it's not clean, it's not good condition for the teachers for work, and they all a student for learns for children. The children is the future for Lawrence. Is better in more money for education is the best. Now we got more children and more young people go to the college. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Rich Russell. Name and address, please, for the record.
Thank you, Council President. My name's Dick Russell. I reside at 34 Cross Street. I'd like to thank the District D Councilor for getting the rules suspended to allow this to public participation to continue. The only thing I'll say about the discussion that's ongoing is, where were all these people at the public hearing at the last City Council meeting when all of this was being discussed? And secondly, why is there almost a $250 difference in the allowable per square foot cost on the new Oliver School as opposed to what the state allows? Well, that being said, now what I wanted to say. I had a fancy rant all prepared, and just like that, it had to be redone. I had posted a comment on Facebook this morning complaining about the lack of coronavirus numbers from the city of Lawrence since the beginning of April. Miraculously, the missing numbers appeared on the city's website during the day. That's all well and good, but the question is, how soon will this happen again? Most officials in Lawrence are fighting the battle to try and eliminate the coronavirus here in Lawrence. Shouldn't all of the city officials be on the same page? The citizens deserve to know how effective the battle is and in what areas that the battle needs to be fought more aggressively. Now that vaccines are available to all that are over the age of 16, the city will be able to see how effective the vaccination process is and where their resources should be directed in this fight. As always, I thank you for the time to address the councilors.
Thank you very much. Next is Anna Batista, followed by school committee member Pat Mariano. Ms. Batista, you've got the floor.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I asked my mother that ask you for a new school for Oliver Partnership student because our student need a safe and clean school. Please, I will need a new school for our children, which is the future. Thank you. Sorry for my English.
You did a great job. Thank you very much. Next is school committee member Pat Mariano.
Thank you, Council President LaPlante. My name is Pat Mariano. I'm a resident of 28 Ridgewood Circle. I'm a member of the LAE board as well as school committee member representing District E. I'm particularly concerned about this council's inability to put forth the Oliver School project. And I just have a simple question. I wonder how many of you have walked through the Oliver School lately? And I also wonder how many of you would want your children or grandchildren educated at the Oliver in the current condition that it's in. This is the United States of America, and our kids deserve to be educated in a state-of-the-art building. We as the adults are making the decisions that need to think of our kids, the future leaders of this city. So my request to the councilors is to put forth this project and think of our kids more than anything else in the world. They deserve the best, and we can't say no to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, school committee member Marianne. We do appreciate it. Next is Marlene Paulino, followed by Debbie Lopez. Ms. Paulino.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My name is Marlene Paulino. I reside at 13 Trenton Street in Lawrence, Mass. I am currently the parent liaison for the Oliver Partnership School. I ask for your support in the new building of OPS. As I am a near future teacher, I would like the best for my students. They are going to be the future, and that will only be possible in a new building. As a near future teacher, I have thought of teaching at other schools for this reason. The school doesn't have classrooms that are big enough for our students. This classroom doesn't have a gym for our students. The cafeteria. Any parents have been to an IEP meeting? Walking down to our basement looks like a jail. I apologize when I escort our parents to IEP meetings. It is embarrassing to be a Lawrence resident, to be working in a Lawrence public schools, to have a building that's like this. I'm pretty sure that if we have taxpayers, all these homeowners in Lawrence walk through the Oliver Partnership School, they would be very upset if another nightclub was to be built. They would be very upset if another store was to be built. They would be very upset if another barbershop was to be built, if they walk through the halls of the Oliver Partnership School. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker this evening is Ms. Debbie Lopez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Debbie Lopez. I reside at 41 Ohio Ave, and I'm here to speak as a homeowner. I'm in full support of the Oliver School project. My family immigrated from El Salvador and Guatemala, and like many other immigrant families, my parents came with hopes of fulfilling the American dream, which fortunately we were able to move towards that dream while investing in the community. My family and I own multiple properties. Just as we had the opportunity to create roots here, our children, the children of this community, deserve the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Catherine, I believe it's pronounced Reedy or Reedy. Please help with the pronunciation.
Yep, Catherine Reed. I live in Medford, but I'm an employee at OPS, and I've been working at Lawrence Public Schools since 2014. Last week, we showed our 5th grade students parts of your April 6th City Council meeting. They watched as you debated and commented about whether or not the renovation and expansion of their school building should move forward. They then wrote their own persuasive essays. Collectively, the essays represent the lived experiences of OPS students, many of whom have spent 4 years attending school at that OPS building. I wanted to share some excerpts from their essays. The first one, first at the old OPS building, I felt scared because the roof was falling on my and the students' heads, and the walls' paint was falling off, and the roof's paint too. Also, the building is 100 years old. There's mice and ants and centipedes, and the heating no longer works. Another reason why we need the new school is because we would have mice and insects learning with us. When we would go to eat lunch, we would have mice and insects crawling on our food. And in the morning, we would have insects in our breakfast bag. Would you like to eat with mice and insects? Also, the water of the pipes was leaking and the basement smelled like dead rats. This is another student. Those rusting wide and tall pipes always gave me a sense of paranoia because if it were to break, I don't know what even runs through the pipes would come down on us. Rusting pipes around with insulation around the spots that probably have been leaking, it just gives me the tingly feeling I don't like. I would feel safer if it was below the floor. And this last student. Lastly, the reason I want a new school is because everything is falling apart. Please don't ignore us. We worked hard for the posters, letters, and speech. At least know that all of this was not a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that is it for the public participation. I don't see anybody else's hands that are up. So at this point, thank you everyone for your comments this evening. Your name and address will be part of the record, and the city clerk has been monitoring this discussion. So thank you all so very much. The next item on our docket this evening, communications from mayor, city officials, and city attorney at 7021 council chambers update. I just wanted to give you all an update on where we are with respect to opening up the chambers. A couple of things. One is we're able to get, and I think I've sent to each one of you counselors a picture of the partitions that we can place there. We have plenty of those to go around. So that's one thing I wanted to bring to your attention. The other thing as well is that we're looking to try to get some monitors. I'm trying to price those monitors right now so we can so for the options, if we choose to go down this road, have an option to maybe doing a hybrid meeting where we can have both Zoom and in-person interaction. So we're pricing that out. And as soon as I get that information, I can get that to you. For some bit of hard news, I think we can begin starting at the next full city council meeting to begin on channel 22, finally putting this Zoom meeting on channel 22. I think we're just about to get the right software or hardware, excuse me, to make that happen. So I expect that in our first meeting in May, that you will be able to, if you're any one of our constituents or residents, can actually watch us on channel 22, even though we're going to be in Zoom. And then the possibility exists with some more equipment that if we choose to, and again, what I really want, counselors, is for all of us to be on the same page as to when we want to open this up, when we want to go to the chambers. I really want us to get to a resolution together as to how we should proceed. But I want to give you as much information to make a decision. But there is the possibility, I think, a very real possibility of going hybrid pretty soon, where we have members of the city council who can be there as well as being at home, still having a quorum. And as we go forward with that, if that's something that is of interest to the membership, we certainly can talk about what that means, how we should go ahead, et cetera. Quick summary from Mr. Armano, our ISD director. When we go into these, we certainly can be meeting at the city council chamber. So that is something we can do. Because the gatherings order, I think, by the governor does not apply to municipal bodies. So we can do it. If we're going to be opening it up to the public, we would still want to have 6, at this point anyway, unless things change, according to Mr. Armano, we would want to have the social distancing in the chamber of up to 6 feet from non-family household members. So that would still be in play. And we would, at this point, according to Mr. Armano, there is still a mask requirement. There's still a mask requirement inside the chambers, inside City Hall. So even if we're sitting with the plastic partitions, I am told that we would still need to wear a mask in that. So I'm getting you the information so we can be more informed about how we want to proceed. I will throw out a suggestion. It's merely a suggestion. My suggestion is that we start looking as soon as we can to see what we can do to start with, perhaps with subcommittees, having them meet. I don't think we're ready for this next round quite yet because we still need to get that equipment. But I do want to start off with that first step, and then having some members at the chambers, some members if they need to be back home, but we don't need to have the entire rostrum full. We can have 4 members of the committee, 3, et cetera, and we can work out those dynamics as well. So it's a work in progress. I wanted to update you We're probably maybe just a smidgen too early at this point to make a decision because we don't have the technology. But I guess unless somebody feels strongly, I'm going to pursue. And if you feel strong, let me know. I'm going to pursue seeing if we can get the equipment to give us those options, that hybrid option. So unless someone thinks that's not a good idea, and I'm willing to entertain that, that I think we should at least find out how much it costs, and then we can maybe purchase that equipment. Is everybody, are we all on the same page, counselors? Am I missing anything? Is there anything I should provide for you to help us at this point?
Council President.
Mr. Payano?
So I think, well, thank you for doing all that, a lot of that legwork. I think, as we mentioned over the phone, I think it is very important that everybody does wear masks, regardless of the petition. I'm glad that Director Armano said that as well. So one thing to take into account that if we are doing 6 feet, we should look at, as far as the folks on the council, we're going to be spread apart. A lot of the other governmental bodies that I've seen, they've used other locations to be able to be 6 feet apart. I understand that one of the things that you're looking at is this hybrid model. So what I would say is that at least until we're all vaccinated, that one of the things that I would love you to take into account when you're looking at the subcommittees is, do we fit all 4? And if we can't, and there's some hybrid options, that there's some clear directions as to sort of how we go about doing that. But thank you for doing all this legwork for it.
You're welcome. And I will definitely take it into consideration. We'll look in that with that perspective so I can report that back to you. So thank you. Anybody else wish to comment on this? Any suggestions, thoughts? Nothing's going to change this week. And nothing's going to necessarily change. We might get that when we get Zoom, that might happen in time for that 6th meeting. I don't think anybody would object to that. So we might be broadcasting on 22 as early as the next meeting, but anything else? If not, I'll just continue. Very good. Well, thank you, councilors, for your patience. I do appreciate that, and we'll keep working on it. Next on our items this evening is committee reports. With Mr. Abdu, we're not with us this evening. I am going to go with the most senior person on the committee, which would be Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, would you be willing to give the committee reports this evening for the Budget and Finance Committee?
I wasn't present on that day, but I can definitely read.
What we could do then, if the comfort level is better, Mr. Payano, I believe you were present. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Would you be willing to do the committee reports?
Yes. So item 5621. The council, the committee voted to a favorable recommendation to send to the full council item 5621. There was a request for some information that I believe was provided to us as well. And we do this in a form of motion.
There's a motion made to approve document 5621, seconded, I believe, by Councillor Levy.
Councillor Estela Reyes.
My humble apologies, Vice President Estela Reyes has seconded that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Levy,
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councillor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councillor Abdul, noted. Councillor Payano,
Yes.
Councillor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez,
Present.
Councillor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document number 5821. These are outstanding prior year invoices for $61,270. Mr. Payano, would you be willing to give the committee report, please?
Yes, sir. If I can just be given a moment so I can scroll down to the actual vote. Okay. The committee reviewed this and we voted to send this to the full council without a recommendation. And there was a request for invoices to be attached, and the invoices have been attached to this document. The reason we voted to send it without a recommendation was because at the committee level, the invoices weren't there. But I would recommend, yeah. So I would like to make a motion, Council President, to make a motion to favorably vote for this item.
Motion to approve document 5821. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Estela Reyes. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document 5921, the approval of the city council to pay prior year invoices out of the current year available funds. Mr. Payano, would you please read the committee report?
Thank you, Council President. Committee voted to send this to the full council with a favorable recommendation and presented in the form of a motion.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gonzalez. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
The chair votes in the affirmative. The next motion carries. The next document is document 6021, in order to expend grant funds, HUD, CDBG grants, home grants, and emergency solutions grant. Mr. Payano, would you please read the Budget and Finance Committee report?
Council President, the Budget Committee met on item 60-21, and we voted to send it to the full council with a favorable recommendation and to order a public hearing for May 4th, and I presented in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made and it's properly seconded by Councilor Anna Levy. Discussion. This is order a public hearing. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Although it carries, the motion carries. The next document is on the Ordinance Committee reports, is document 4821. Madam Chair and Vice President Estela Reyes, would you please read the committee report for that item, please?
Thank you, Councilor President. Document 48-21, it has been sent out with a favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded by Councilor Payano. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next item is document number 6121, Chairman of the Ordinance Committee, Estela Reyes.
Document 61-21 is also has been sent out with the favor recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes, I believe. Discussion.
Discussion.
Mr. Payano.
I don't have the language for the resolution.
That's what I want to ask.
Okay, I don't have it with me. Is anyone has it that they can share with Councillor Payano? Councillor President, do you have it?
I don't believe I have it. I think it would be in order if there's no objection that this may want to get tabled so we don't hold back the meeting. And then we can take it up at the next meeting unless someone has it immediately. I don't have it. Does the clerk have a copy of the resolution?
We're checking now.
Because I don't think we need to table this. Councilor Payano, will you accept a some information until we get that the draft?
Of course, Councilor.
Okay. So what basically is about is an engagement in a fair employment standard from Amazon. I spoke to Mayor Kendris Vasquez. And also I spoke to, and I'm apologies that I don't recall his name. And this is about they are trying to open a site of the Amazon in Andover. So what they are planning to do is they want to do the job fair in Lawrence, just try to recruit some employer from Lawrence. So is that basically it? There's nothing more than try to recruit employee from Lawrence just to work on that site that they are planning to open soon.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
We did not receive resolution language from the mayor, who is the sponsor of this document.
I would ask this committee for their indulgence if we could. I understand that there's probably no, if there's a willingness to table, I would encourage a motion to table at this point till we get that information.
Mr. President.
I think Ms. Dela Cruz hasn't spoken yet, would have the floor, and I see Mr. Payano, you would be able to speak next. Ms. Dela Cruz?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I think this is a great opportunity for our people who are in need of jobs. Delaying this petition is delaying the opportunity for our community to find jobs. As we know, a lot of people are unemployed at this moment, and we really need to rush this information because, you know, they're going to be hiding people from Lawrence. Then we have to be very thankful that they're giving us the opportunity to apply, and to apply maybe in person. I hope people can attend those fair employment. Then I don't think we shouldn't delay anything, because otherwise people have to wait a long time to accept just a employment affair. Then please, Mr. Payano, I hope that you understand that we need work for our people. Thank you.
Mr. Payano, I believe you have the floor again.
Thank you, Council President. And I would say thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Yes, we definitely do need work for our people, people of Lawrence. Madam Vice President, would you take a friendly amendment and maybe we could just add be it resolved to this?
No, it's your computer froze.
My computer froze?
I'm sorry, I'm not in the clerk's office.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Payano, apologies.
Madam Vice President, so if you could take a friendly amendment and we can add a be it resolved that the City of Lawrence urges community engagement and fair employment standards of any expansion of Amazon into the surrounding area.
Yeah, I'll definitely, yes.
To approve.
So there's been apparently a friendly amendment that's been accepted by the author of the motion. And is that a substituting amendment? So the entire resolution is what Mr. Payano just read? Is that the entire resolution?
No.
Mr. Payano?
Oh, so I believe that this is, I thought that what was being voted on was essentially this line there. So I was adding a be it resolved. It sounds like what I'm hearing is that this motion might be something completely different. And if that's the case, I don't know that. I was trying to find a solution to this problem.
So apparently, so just so I'm clear and the clerk is clear, there was an amendment to an amendment to the motion. It's unfortunate we don't have language here in front of us that we're going to be able to look at and be able to speak on it. However, the motion is still in play and is still on the floor. And what I'm unclear about yet is what was if the author of the amendment and the sponsor of the item this evening, are we on the same page? Is this, where are we with this motion?
So Council President, I am okay if the amendment that I stated is part of the motion. I am fine voting in favor of it. So and I'm actually I'm reading the motion right now, and I will send this to the city clerk.
And while you're doing that, Councillor Selena Reyes would like the floor. Ms. Reyes.
I try to share the language.
Okay, that would be great.
Reading.
Did you send it by email?
Yes.
And if Ms. Reyes, if you sent that by email, did you also include the city clerk on it?
Okay.
Please do that so that we keep a copy of all the public documents. And if you have it, just out of, I mean, we can do a couple of things here. We can table it right now, come back to it a little bit later. If somebody has it and wishes, it's not lengthy, wishes to read it at this point, that would be in order.
So Council President, I could read it as quickly as I can, if you'd like.
There's no objection, Mr. Payano, please read the.
Can you?
Thank you, Council President. And just as FYI, the email was forwarded to everybody. Resolution urging community engagement and fair employment standards for any expansion of Amazon involving the city of Lawrence. Whereas COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on the health, safety, and well-being of the residents of the city of Lawrence. And whereas the preventative measures put in place to combat COVID-19 by state and local agencies to prevent the spread and curtail transmission of COVID-19 have had a substantial economic impact of local retail establishments in Lawrence. And whereas existing retail and established parcel delivery networks currently operate within Lawrence and the surrounding area and set community standards with family sustaining wages and workplace benefits, including but not limited to quality health insurance and a secure retirement. And whereas retail and established parcel delivery options that currently operate within Lawrence and the surrounding area coexist in a range of neighborhoods and add value to the fabric of the community, including by offering quality careers for Lawrence residents to provide for their families. And whereas existing established parcel delivery options have aptly served the residents of the city of Lawrence throughout the COVID-19 pandemic while maintaining the highest of standards for their essential workers. And whereas Amazon, which is not conform to area standards for wages, benefits, and working conditions, has targeted several surrounding communities for expansion of its e-commerce operation. Therefore, be it resolved, the City of Lawrence Mayor and City Council urges Amazon, prior to any expansion of warehouse fulfillment or delivery operations involving the City of Lawrence, to meet and confer with members of the Lawrence community, including but not limited to impacted neighborhood groups, local residents, representatives of labor unions with experience representing workers employed in established parcel delivery operations, fulfillment operations, and the building and construction trades, and any other interested parties to discuss how Amazon's potential expansion can benefit the city of Lawrence and its residents while guaranteeing sustainable growth for the city and helping to ensure that fair and equitable employment standards are maintained for all e-commerce networks. And be it further resolved that prior to any expansion into the city of Lawrence, Amazon commits to and presents sufficient evidence to the Lawrence City Council that its operations will meet or exceed current community standards established for the building and construction of facilities and those established by established parcel delivery networks for fulfillment and delivery. This commitment would include that all delivery drivers will be direct employees of Amazon and not independent contractors. Amazon must commit that all of its delivery drivers will be competent, safe drivers, and that Amazon and its delivery drivers will maintain the utmost professional conduct in their day-to-day operations in the neighborhoods of the city of Lawrence. Madam Chair, if we could perhaps remove the friendly amendment that I mentioned.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, is being part of that, the language.
So the friendly amendment has been withdrawn. The motion is as it was read by Councillor Paulino. Is there any further discussion on this matter or anybody else?
To approve.
Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
Oh, did I miss somebody? Miss Levy. I'm sorry. My apologies. Go ahead.
So the only question that I have, how much is going to be the pay for that kind of employment?
That is not information that I have. I'm assuming that it's going to be $15 an hour, but I can't speak on them. So that's something that they have to be discussion, with them.
So there is no one here.
This is a resolution, it's an opinion from the
Councilor Levy, you got the floor.
No, what I'm asking is somebody in the audience is over here that can speak on that regard?
No, I don't think so.
So where are they has to go to fill the application or to get hired?
Again, Councilor Levy, this is going to be a job fair. So whenever they have that information, I'm assuming that they're going to publicize it, that they're going to do some advertisement, and they're going to be passing whatever information is going to be needing at that moment. At this time, what we are passing is a resolution accepting that they want to come and recruit some employer from Lawrence. That's all we are doing. I don't think at this point we can ask too much, since that they've been coming and choose over many other cities.
Okay.
Anybody else wish to speak? Mr. Rodriguez, did you want to say something?
No, I don't want to say anything.
Okay. If there's no further discussion on this matter, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Paulino,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
No. Motion carries. The next item is 6521, a resolution naming the baseball field at Howard Park. Vice President Stella Reyes.
Document 6521, it has been sent out with a favor recommendation. The plaque is exceeding placard and is in the field. The only changes to naming is just to add junior. So it has been sent out with a favor recommendation, and I made that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Discussion? Mr. Gonzalez, just for some clarification, so this is going to be a field's name shared by father and son? Is that accurate?
No, that's already been named by the senior that I think, I don't want to be wrong, but they go to add it up the junior because the senior passed away. They no more, the senior no more there. The junior's in charge of the softball field. The league is a league. Been years and years in City of Lawrence. It's a league by the family Juliano, and somebody. You got me in trouble now.
I didn't mean to, Counselor. I was a little confused by what we're trying to accomplish. I know there's a field already named by Cy Juliano, and I know that there is this part of this is looking to name a field. I thought in listening to your committee meeting that this might have been because of the good work made by both father and son that there was an attempt to try to expand the naming of the field to father and son. But perhaps I'm mistaken. I'm not sure what else there is to name on that field. If we need more time on this, Council, we can give that time. We can park this until the next meeting if that's helpful. But how do you want to proceed?
Go ahead, Councilor Gonzalez.
Mr. Paulino you want to relinquish the floor? Or do you want to continue, Mr. Gonzalez?
No, go ahead.
Mr. Paulino?
So I thought that just from reading this, it sounded like we were adding the word junior to it. I think from my understanding, there's Juliano Senior and there's Juliano Junior. I know Juliano Junior has been extremely involved. They both have, but I happen to know Junior more. So I mean, maybe I'm not correct, Councillor Gonzalez, but is the goal perhaps to add Junior to the name so it is clear? You know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, add it up. Yes, thank you, sir.
So I think it's clearer now, and thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for putting this, and you're being very responsive to the people in your in the district. As I'm thinking back in a conversation I recently had with Representative Moran, I think he was also mentioning that there'd be two names on there as well. So I think this is the right thing, and thank you so much for putting this on the agenda. So I think, is everyone clear on what this is? And if there's no further discussion, we can call the roll.
Councillor Levy? Councillor Levy?
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councillor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Abdu? Noted. Councillor Payano?
Yes.
Councillor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez?
Dame un minuto, espérate. Yes.
Councillor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes, the motion carries and the resolution is adopted. The next item is document 6821, temporary modification of Hamlet Street. Madam Chair of the Ordinance Committee.
It has been sent out with favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion. Second.
Motion made and properly seconded by Councillor Selena Reyes. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez? Councillor Rodriguez? Councillor De La Cruz?
Yes. Yes. Councilor Rodriguez, yes.
Thank you. Councillor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Payano?
Yes.
Councillor Abdu? Noted. Councillor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councillor Levy?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes, the motion carries. The next items now are tabled matters. Councilors, I provided for you a series of items that if we felt so, we could maybe take it off the table. There may be other items as well. One item that I'd like to see off the table this evening to move would be the 25420, which is the discontinuance of Concord and Bradford Streets between Hampshire and Amesbury. And that is for the police department. And they were looking to get us some information, which I think they have done. So is there a motion to take document 25420 off the table?
So move.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Roll call to take off the table.
Councillor Levy?
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councillor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Abdu? Noted. Councillor Payano?
Yes.
Councillor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councillor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion. Now that it's off the table, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councillor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councillor Payano?
Yes.
Councillor Abdu? Noted. Councillor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councillor Levy?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes, the motion carries. I do, like I said, have a list of ones. Is there any items that any members of the council would like to take off the table at this point? If not, I'm going to go down my list. Okay. I will go down my list. Document number 19714, double polls. Is there a motion to take that one off the table matters?
So move.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councillor Levy,
Yes.
Councillor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councillor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councillor Abdu, noted, Councillor Payano,
Yes.
Councillor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councillor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councillor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion to withdraw document number 19714. Is there a motion?
So move.
What was
Or
that?
another
What was the
motion.
item number again?
19714.
19714.
Second.
I need a motion made by Councilor Vice President, seconded by Councilor Payano. Any discussion? Hearing none. Discussion. Mr. Rodriguez.
I remember that we have taken this item a couple of times, and somehow we actually work with the different companies that deal with the double poles in the city of Lawrence to be able to reduce the amount of double poles that we have throughout the city. Without this item in place, we won't be able to speak on that matter. Instead of withdrawing it, why don't we send correspondence to National Grid, Verizon, and many of the other companies that deal with it, including the fire department, to make sure and give us a count as of how many double poles we have in the city and how many are aligned to be removed this summer coming up. This item have helped in the past. I remember we went from 68, identified that the city of Lawrence actually were the next in line to be able to remove the wire that they were supposed to be removed. They actually did it, and those 44 continue to the companies to work down until the last one, which is Verizon, that actually allow us to allow them to remove the pole, the double pole itself, ones that get to that point. So I don't know what's your intention. I don't know if you want to add a new one, but I mean, I think that having that double pole review on the agenda actually give us the tool to actually get an update as of how many. I'm pretty sure many of you guys have received that phone call, a double pole from our constituents. So I don't know.
So why don't we do this? All table matters. If any counselor has an objection, like Councilor Rodriguez has just presented, which is perfectly acceptable and appreciated, why don't we do this? I just think sometimes they aren't moving, but if there's an appetite to move on it, that's fine. The only recommendation I would have is to send that down to the ordinance committee and let that committee do the work so we can free up our tabled matters here with the full council and then do what you just recommended, perhaps sending that with correspondence, getting the double poll information and seeing what this stuff is, and then we can bring that back up and see where that is. So based on the comments we just heard, I'm going to be sending that back down to the ordinance committee for further review in hopes that the ordinance committee can follow up by sending correspondence, getting some information, and see if there's any progress on removing double polls. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I appreciate that. Who's wishing to speak?
Maria de la Cruz.
Councilor de la Cruz, you have the floor.
I think the item is very important to keep because I was working in the community and we still have double poles and we still have the holes when they installing the poles that, you know, any kid could be harmed if we don't do anything to send them correspondence. I think we should send correspondence to the National Grid, to Verizon, and all of those companies that have to deal with the pole.
So why don't we do this? Is there a motion to send correspondence to National Grid and to the utilities and send that to the ordinance committee so they can do the work? We're going to skip that step and start that letter right now, and then they can work with that information and then give us back a full report. Do you want to make that in a form of a motion, Councilor de la Cruz?
Yes.
There's a motion. There's a motion to send a letter or communication to the the pole owning utility companies for a listing of their the poles in the city and their agenda to go ahead and remove them. It's been seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. Discussion? And hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz, Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries, and this document is now being sent down to the ordinance committee for further review and to get that information. I am looking at document 168AT that has not moved. I am looking to get a motion to take off the tables for the purpose of discussion and perhaps withdrawal. Is there a motion to take document 16818 off?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Payano, seconded by Councilor Levy, I believe. If there's no discussion, I'll call the roll, just take it off the table. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. What is the pleasure of the membership? I'm going to recommend a withdrawal, but if somebody else has a different opinion on that, what is the Councilor Levy with the motion to withdraw?
No,
No?
no. A
Okay,
motion,
what's the motion?
yes. A motion to keep it in there. So I don't think so that at this moment we should drop it. So we haven't finished it yet as a member of the ad hoc committee. We haven't finished it yet with all of the requests for the American with Disability Act. So still there are so many things that we haven't finished yet. Just because of the pandemic, we have to stop it doing what we were supposed to finish and doing at the school in different places for the voting places. I know that we changed it, some of the voting place, but still there are things to do on the other ones.
Motion to table.
Motion to table by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Levy. No discussions on a motion to table. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to table is sustained. The next,
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to take item 4221 out of table matters.
document 22120, is that correct?
4221.
Councilor President.
4221. There's a motion to take document 4221 off the table. Is there a second?
Before you call the motion,
Council
I'm going-
Vice President, what's your point of order?
yes, I'm just going to exclude myself from that item, even to take it out of table. And for the member that is still present, there was some public participation. My only reason to step out is because I have a conflict of interest. So I'm going to step out of this item, and I don't even want to participate on take it in the table items.
Duly noted. Council Vice President is now recusing herself from this and any other vote regarding this matter. So there's a matter right now to take document number 4221 off the table matters. It has been properly seconded. Any discussion on just taking it off the table? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul, noted, Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes. Abstain, Councilor President LaPlante.
Chair votes yes. At this point, councilors, because of our rules, we are going back to where we were 2 weeks ago. There was a motion made by Councilor Levy to approve this document. And there's, by the way, that we need to, when we get to the time that we're actually having a vote on it, we will need to have the right verbiage mentioned. And I think we can get that for you with the help from the clerk's office. But at this time, as well, Mr. Abdu was actually the presiding officer at the time because I recused myself from the chair so I could be able to comment because anybody in the chair is not able to provide an opinion. Now, with Mr. Abdu not here, what we do at this point is go in a matter of seniority. The next most senior member of the city council after Mr. Abdu is Mr. Rodriguez. So Mr. Rodriguez, you will, at this point, you will have the gavel until this matter is finalized. Mr. Rodriguez.
Councilor Rodriguez, do I still have the floor?
You have the floor, yes.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Councilors, I think that we've been having this discussion for several months, for a couple of years, about the need to create, build a new school, not just one new school here at LPS, but there's several schools that need to be rebuilt. I won't, stand here and, essentially go over all the testimony that we heard earlier today, the testimony that we've heard from parents, from students, from teachers. I hope that by this time, everybody has had the opportunity to go inside the school and visit and then really understand the type of in the learning environment, if we can, I use that in quotations, the type of environment that these kids are, essentially have to, go through day in, day out. I value everybody that works there, everybody that's trying to learn within that school. I think it's time that we make the necessary step and approve this motion and take on the loan. I know that taking on a loan of this magnitude and essentially committing ourselves to increasing taxes is not something that is easily done. It's not something that it's something that's it's gonna essentially all of our taxpayers, all of our residents are going to be having to put more. But I think there's a huge difference when we're increasing taxes on one hand, in this case, we're increasing taxes because we're investing within the city of Lawrence. And there is no more important investment than our youth. We're ensuring that the next generation of leaders for Lawrence are being educated in a proper environment. As you know, about 6-7 months ago, at the time, I was pushing for a different option as far a different option of building out the Oliver School. I do understand that there are issues dealing with traffic and issues dealing with parking. I think we've talked about this 7 months ago. We chose to stay with this option. If we were to now go back and say we're going to go back to the drawing tables, we would be delaying the starting of a new school by 2-3 years, if not more, because there's nothing to say that we're going to be receiving the money that we're getting now from the state. I think what we should be doing today, we should be voting in favor of this. We should be pushing for our state delegation, state reps, and our state senator to look up ways to try to bring more funds for this particular project. And I think that might be a way that we might be able to alleviate the pain that our residents and our homeowners will feel. I know that it is difficult asking or letting folks know that taxes are going to be increased. But I have full confidence that when you're speaking to a resident, if we let them know, like, yes, your taxes are being increased because we had to build this new school that hasn't really seen any love in over 50 years, has been around for Robert Frost went to that school, and I'm pretty sure that some of the same things that he saw several decades ago are still seen today. So I hope you take all that into consideration, and you take into consideration the testimony of our residents, of our kids, of our parents, and of course of our teachers. So I implore counselors to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you. I give back the rest of my time. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Councilor Lodge, Pavel Payano. There is anybody else that wishes to speak on this matter before we call the question?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Maria de la Cruz, and then Ana Levy, and then Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. I would like to hear from Mr. Ianello, the finance person of the city of Lawrence, to tell us what it is the money that we had to embrace in the couple 20 more years.
So, Mr. Ianello, the CAFO of the city, is he present today?
He was.
Yes, I'm here.
So, Councilor De La Cruz, I have a few questions for you.
Yes. What is the amount of money that we had to embrace as residents of Lawrence?
Well, for this project, there's a couple of options. We either have to raise taxes to pay for the loan, or we have to have a planned use of free cash for the first few years that the debt is incurred.
Exactly. How much is going to be a year?
It's approximately $5 million per year, which would be our share. And we have approximately 72 million 72 million will be our share, and 60 million is roughly the 46% that the MSBA would reimburse us. So the total debt service on our share of approximately 73 million will be approximately 5 million per year for a 30-year period.
Mr. Ianello, what is the guarantee that our levy of the city of Lawrence will not go into a deficit in the next couple of years?
Well, we have a levy capacity of approximately 6 million. So that's more than enough to, if we went down that route, it's more than enough to pay for the debt service. We could add it to the tax rolls, tax bills, or as I said, we could try and have a planned use of free cash when we pass our operating budget for the approximately 5 or 6 years that we need to subsidize where we'll have to supplement the general fund to pay for the existing services and the debt service on the Oliver School loan.
Are we able to use part of the $50,000 million that are coming to the city of Lawrence? Are we be able to use some of that money?
I'm not sure yet. We don't have the regulations on how it's approximately 58.3 million, I believe, is the latest estimate that the city will receive under the American Rescue Plan, which was just passed recently by Congress. But we don't have the regulations as to how that can be used. One thing that has been, it has indicated that we can use some of the funds to replace lost revenues. That would not be 5 million, but and I'm not sure how that would be measured, but I assume it's probably going to be what were your revenues the fiscal year previous to the COVID-19 emergency, and then what were the revenues during COVID-19. And we may be able to use some of that 58 million to plug that gap.
it is clear that we, the homeowners, will have to, um, the taxes will increase in a couple of years.
It's possible, again, when if this project is approved, the city will embark on will borrow some funds as the construction goes on, which I believe will take about approximately 2 or 3 years to construct the building. I think some people on the call can better answer that than I can, but my understanding is that it'll be construction will last through FY24 and into 25. Once the project is complete, we'll borrow. We'll have a permanent borrowing sometime during the construction, or before the end of construction, or near the end of construction, and we'll borrow permanently borrow the debt that we've incurred to build the building, our share of that debt, and then that fiscal year will need to approximately $5 million will be added to our general fund operating budget. We wouldn't be able to fund that $5 million debt service without an increase in the tax levy, or, as I said earlier, planned use of free cash during those early years. The only caveat to the free cash, as I indicated in my memo, is that because of the COVID-19 emergency, we are spending an awful lot of money in dealing with this emergency, and if there are not enough federal or state funds to reimburse our expenditures, obviously free cash would have to be used, or that'll reduce our free cash if we have a deficit that needs to be funded. So that's the caveat with free cash. I know when the project was first discussed, we certainly thought we'd have free cash that might be able to soften the blow of a planned use of free cash reserves. But at this point, with the COVID-19 emergency not over yet, we have expended an awful lot of funds, and that does jeopardize the amount of free cash that we may have available to us.
Mr. Ianello, thank you for your answer. I'm asking this question because I love to go back in 5 more years and find out that things were very clear for the people of Lawrence. I also would like Superintendent Paris to answer some of my questions, please.
Is the superintendent present in the meeting tonight?
Yes, certainly.
All right. Councilor Maria de la Cruz, I have a few questions for you.
Yes. Superintendent Paris, what is the guarantee that we are going to have some of the people working in the construction from the city of Lawrence? I understand that a lot of the workers that we have in the city, they don't speak English. Then how are you going to handle that situation?
Thank you for your question. As we had mentioned in the previous meeting, the school building committee is committed to ensuring that the contract go to our local citizens of Lawrence. Of course, this process will be something that we're going to let the design team and construction team handle, but the building committee will have close communication and collaboration with them.
Then we have a guarantee that we're going to have people from Lawrence working. We understand that it's a very delicate construction because it is a restoration of a historical building. We understand that piece, but I also would like to pass by and make sure that we have people from the community working in there. My other question is, when the school be ready, is there a possibility that we get 50% of the teachers from Lawrence teaching at that school?
We currently, so we currently believe that the current staff at our school is an excellent teaching staff, and we hope that they remain with us for the entire careers. Our role is to continue to support our teachers, to respect the work that they're currently doing, and I hope that you will join us in that.
You know that we have a lot of young people that they need mentoring in the community. Like the younger kids that was talking, I see them as the future leaders for the community. What is the promise to make those students of today become those future leaders, that they will feel the desire to become teachers or become part of the school department.
District currently has a priority of continuing to increase diversity in our working staff, including pipelines as an example, the para to teacher profession. So we will continue to think about alternatives and other ideas to promote and to let our students see themselves in those various careers, including education.
Are you planning to have a room for parents for PTO meetings?
Absolutely. Community is one of the key stones of this project and of the district, so family engagement remains a priority.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Councilor De La Cruz, I have a question, quick question to your comment. You mentioned in one of our conversation that we would like to see some type of honor to Robert Frost on the school. Are you still interested on that?
Well, because the school is already a historical place. When I moved to this city, I was a teacher already from New York. And when I became a teacher, through the Bread Love program, I learned so much about Robert Frost that even when you stand in one of the corner of the park, you can see the poems. One of his famous poems that he said, "The road not taken." I think that even the constructor of the park, the designer of the park, it was based on that poem, "The road not taken." Then why not to honor a man that did so much for our community, that we are recognized, Lauren is recognized around the world because of Robert Frost. Then I am the babies of this city because I've been here for 25 years. And I don't know why the historical department is not asking for Robert Frost House to be honored. It will be an honor to the community to have Robert Frost next to us.
Do you want something within the Oliver School building to honor Robert Frost?
They should, because the library doesn't have a lot of space. I was a teacher at the Oliver, and I know the bad condition of that building because I was a teacher in the first floor, in the basement, in the cafeteria, with no place to go to the bathroom. If you need to go to the bathroom, you had to wait.
What do you would like to see on that building within the construction to honor Robert Frost?
It will be an honor to the community and to the.
What do you want to see on that?
I
Like
want to see
a
a room.
hall or a room or something?
I would like to see a room with a lot of pictures of Robert Frost where Bread Love can come in and, do a lot of points like we have done at the Oliver School.
So the question will be to the building committee or perhaps to the superintendent. Is the superintendent willing to have this type of project once the school is built to be able to honor Robert Ross on behalf of De La Cruz, Councilor De La Cruz petition?
As you all know, we currently have a school named after Mr. Frost, and it spans to elementary and middle school.
Yeah, we do know.
Right.
But I mean, we don't want to change the name at all. She just wants something on that school to keep on honoring a Laurentian as he was.
I would be happy to bring this up to the building committee.
All right, thank you so much. De La Cruz, that satisfies your
I would like to say
petition
to all of those teachers, I wanted to thank all the teachers and the parents and the kids involved in all of this, because this is what it is, a community working together to make it better of our community. It's together that we're going to make a difference in the city. It is not that our city councilors doesn't want to see a school. Of course we do. But we want the state to bring more money to us because we are a very poor community. We, taxpayers, we wanted to pay taxes. But at this moment, during this pandemic time, we are in a situation that only one person working in a house. Then we have to take that into consideration as well, because we are a very poor community. Of course, education is my heart. For some people that are writing some messages, I think you misunderstood Maria de la Cruz. I have been a teacher all my life. And I love school. And I taught at that school, and I know the bad condition of the Oliver School. And tonight we're going to make the best decision for the city of Lawrence. But together, as a family, as a state rep, as a city, we're going to make the best decision for our school. But the state also have to look at our needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Councilor Levy, now you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank you all the people that came together today to advocate for the school, for the Oliver School. So, but I have a question. My first question is to Mr. Janello. Are you still here, Mr. Janello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So you've been talking about the free cash, Where is the city at this point as of today with free cash? How much we have as a free cash at this moment?
That's approximately 14 million.
As approximately 14 million.
Yes.
Because you said that we have been spending a lot of money because of the pandemic with the COVID, and it's getting low.
Well, the expenditures that we've been incurring to deal with the COVID-19, we're allowed to deficit spend. And we're hoping to get reimbursed for many of those expenditures from the federal government through FEMA, and or we have some CARES Act funding. And then the 58.3 million that came in, some of that may be eligible for COVID relief. But whatever is remaining, whatever deficit remains that is not able to be reimbursed, that'll have to come out of free cash.
Okay. So when are we expecting to get the reimbursed?
Well, we have reimbursements pending before the federal government now, but we've expended a little over $11 million. We have a reimbursement request, the first reimbursement request of approximately $1.8 million. We haven't heard back from the federal government yet. We are in the process of, we have a couple other, several pending applications, just haven't been finally submitted to FEMA yet regarding some of the expenditures since March of last year to present. The latest amounts that we've been expended are for the vaccination sites. We've been supporting those vaccination sites to the tune of approximately $300,000 a month. So it's quite costly. So we have almost $1 million, I believe, into the vaccination sites. We also have approximately $1 million into the testing sites and many other expenditures which departments have been incurring for PPE, overtime, and the like.
So practically our free cash is not $14 million. It's less than that, unless that we recuperated all of the money that we have been spending during the last year.
That's correct. It's roughly $14.5 million, and but that will whatever we expend or whatever deficit we incur that is not able to be reimbursed will have to be funded with free cash.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So no, I haven't finished it yet. So now I need to talk about the school. So okay. I would like to know when is the deadline for us to approve or to get the money, for the school.
You mean to approve this item at the city council level, right?
See, we do not approve like this item today. So where we at? So are we going to lose the money that we are expecting to get it from the state? When is the deadline?
I can speak to that, Councilor Levy. The MSBA has given us 120 days from when we went before them in February. So we have until May 11th. The MSBA is closely keeping track and watching all of these meetings. And every time there is a meeting, we have to submit a report to them to kind of like summarize the meetings, the results of the meetings. And we are in jeopardy, or the city is in jeopardy of not receiving the 46% of the $62 million that the MSBA has approved. Should the council doesn't move forward.
So
That means that if we don't approve it by the deadline, they probably gonna reconsider this item at that level, at the state level, right?
If you guys do not approve for funding, the MSBA pulls the money.
Yeah. So
maybe
we
they
have
put
until
the money
May
back.
12.
So they put the money by the 15th of May?
No, May 12th, right?
May 11th.
May 11th. So
So
by
if you put the money
May
by May
11th,
11th, if we do not approve. When is the next city council meeting?
the next city council meeting.
May 4th.
4th. May 4th.
But my question came because I want to, know, but I think so that today we should approve this. Just waiting. I know that our state commission is working on this and also working with the NSBA, and they try to see how they can make, this thing more easy for city like Lawrence. I know that. So they are advocating for the long-term structural reforms of the NSBA. But I think also that we keep talking and talking about that we do not take care of the way on how this city is growing, that we are building so many houses and so many people are coming to the city of Lawrence. But if we make a little history about the city of Lawrence, I'm gonna bring something. The city of Lawrence on the 1925, they have more than 95,000 people living in here. And during the year of 1899 and 1905, Lawrence built 5 schools. 5 of the schools that we still have it today, because they looking on the growth of the city. And how many schools have we been building on the last years? How many? In the last 20 years, how many schools have we been building in here? We are not talking to build a new school. We are talking to rehab an old school that maybe we haven't spent no money on that school for years and years and years and years. And that school is falling down. I think that our children deserve a better school. Our children deserve a better place to go, a better place that they can feel safe and they can accomplish their goal, so that they can see a future in their life that they can go to another level and get better and better and better. I think so it's time for all to spend money in our school, not just only the Oliver School. So I know that there are some other schools that also are in the same process that we need to work and we need to spend money on that. Let's start singing in our children. Let's start thinking, and that we have so many people here in the city of Lawrence. So maybe, yes, maybe we had 100,000 people living in here. Maybe we have a little bit more. But like I can say, if you go to the history of the city of Lawrence, go back to the 1925, that we have more than 95,000 people living in here. When they call for the mill, when they call for all of the industry that we have it in here, and they start coming with their children, with the family, with everybody, to live in this city of Lawrence, because this is a city that always came together. And we need to get the best, and they saw on our children at that time. I think so it's time for us to vote. Yes, we're gonna be expecting some increase in taxes, maybe no. Maybe our state delegation can find a way on how to bring more money to help the school, on how to help for the other school that also we have to get the repair. But it's time for us to vote and to help our children and to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Levy. Now we have the floor for Councillor Gonzalez.
Good evening, sir. With all the respect to my Councillor Levy, 1925, we didn't have that many factories for cars. And I'm opposing for build more housing. We need a new school. We approve housing. We give you money to non-profit organization to build apartments. More people coming, more kids coming, and we opposing to build a new school? No, we cannot say no tonight. And well, my question is, I'm a new kid on the block. You guys been here for years, and I have a question. I can't sleep. How those property around the Oliver School? The city used to own those property around the Oliver School, and the city don't own those property anymore around the Oliver School. And those property they already include to build the Oliver, or they're not included in there? That's the only question that I don't know how, because I've been in the city 50 years, and those property belonged to the city a couple of years ago, and the Mayor Rivera was there. And how those property the city don't own those property anymore, and who owns those property now? And the city had to buy those property from the person that owns those property now. That's only my concern, but we need to build a new Oliver School. And I'm tonight here to vote in favor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. There is any other councillor that wishes to speak on this matter? Councillor Council President LaPlante.
Just, can I clarify something?
Councillor LaPlante, are you willing to?
I'll relinquish the floor to Councillor Levy for the clarification.
It's just only a clarification to Councillor Gonzalez. Yes, if you look at the Heritage Park is going to have there, and they're going to say that's 95,000 plus was living in the city of Lawrence on 1925.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Levin, Council President LaPlante.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to, if I can do this, I'm going to share my screen. This won't be as long as last Tuesday's, but I appreciate it. Listen, I think everybody's sentiment is that statement right there. Our students need a better educational environment. There's no doubt about it. I didn't need to hear 40 people say that we need it, because I knew that early on in this process when other people were talking to me, administrators, and they were very convincing back months ago about how important it was to get more updated in the problems that we're facing at the Oliver School. So at the end of this very, very brief presentation, I've got some options I'd like to share. Well, let's talk about how this thing has evolved over time. We first found out about this in 2016 in our capital improvement budget back in March of 2016 that was sent to the city council. The amount of money that we were going to be putting toward this new school is $45.2 million. That stayed consistent. It stayed consistent in 2016, 17, 18, and 19. And then last August, it went up to 130.7 million. Now I understand why it went from 500 to 1,000 students. I get that, but it's remarkable that even in the last 7 or 8 months, it's even gone up, almost $2 million as well. And the question is where is this going to end? And we all know the limit that that the state is going to provide for us for money for this, and it's going to stop, and they're not going to provide any extra monies. And we're getting assurances that, there aren't going to be any cost overruns. We're going to have somebody there. We have this new bid requirement, and we're not going to see it. But the reality is I'm looking at numbers, and I'm seeing that can happen. And I'm looking at the award letter that was given to us, and it doesn't make me feel all that comfortable when I read one of the points of the letter where it says the final grant, this is from Mr. McCarthy on February the 11th, the final grant amount may be less than $58 million. So if anything, it's not going up. If anything, the state money is going down. But I want to feature what happened in August and what happened in February, when we got the letter from Mr. Ryanello, the CAFO on this. You know, if you look at the capital improvement letter that was sent to us in August of 2020, it was said that the taxpayers would pay $59 million. Well, less than 7 or 8 months later, that dollar amount went up to $72 to $80 million. It went up. What confidence do we have that it's not going to go up again? What confidence? I don't have confidence that in 8 months it went up by that much, because there was a mistake made by the consultants in their analysis, or at least their estimate was way wrong, and they had to be altered for this number between 72 and 80 million, and that's just the ballpark, right? Why is it so expensive? One of our speakers tonight talked about the police headquarters. I'm putting this on here just as a matter of reference. Our police headquarters is going to cost between 50 and 59 million. Somerset has a recent school. I was going through some articles recently about new schools that are being created. Their middle schools between 85 and 91. Within 13 miles from here, the Salem, New Hampshire High School, that amount is less than 50, right? So why is our school so expensive? I'm told it's materials. I'm told it's this. I want to get to this point right here. Let me go back for 1 second. The question that I have is there a cost that it becomes too expensive? If at first we were looking at $45 million, then we went to 130. Now we're 132. If there was a school worth 150 million, would that be okay? What happens if the cost is $200 million? Now I'm being rather, an outlier here, but if you told me a year and a half ago that from it's going to be 45 million to 132, I go, that's preposterous. There's no way it's going to be that expensive. That's 3 times more. What is the final price? Do we have that? Do we know what that is? Or is it spending at any cost? Any cost? It's a rhetorical question. We all have a different number in our heads as to what that is. So what can we do? Senator Feingold with other members of the delegation sent us a letter, and we all have it. We've received it a couple of times now. Frankly, the MSBA formula has been unchanged for 15 years or maybe even longer. I think if memory serves me correctly, it's $333 per square foot. And what Senator Feingold is looking to do, he's really looking to really look at, is this fair for a city like Lawrence? When we're talking about justice and fairness and equity, is this fair to our city? Is this fair to the children in our city and to their parents who are homeowners, or maybe they're paying the rent? Is it fair to all of us? Is it fair? And the answer, I think, is a resounding no. It's not fair that we're paying the same amount of square foot as other communities. It is hurting us because we're paying a lot more. So I think number one, we have to do is we have to support Senator Feingold and the delegation. This is Senator Feingold's bill, and trying to bring a review of this and make sure that this is common sense. It's not about how many schools can the MSBA put together, but does it make sense that a city like Lawrence should be treated just like a city like Weymouth or any other wealthy, or Wellesley or Weston or any other wealthy community? And also, why are we waiting? I'm gonna recommend that we don't go forward with this project, but I need to fix that Oliver School immediately. We don't need to be shackled by the MSBA. We can go ahead and do the work that needs to be done and get that done quickly to get these children in an environment where they're not worried about whether it's the roof, or whether it's flooding, whether it's mold, or whatever the conditions that are awful and that is distracting from the learning environment. Let's do those fixes. It's not going to be $132 million worth of fixes. And here's the reason why I say we got to take care of what needs to be done. When we're looking, and what we want to do, of course, we're looking to reduce the amount that the burden is on the Lawrence taxpayers. But what we're looking is this. When we're looking at trying to pass a bond bill, a bond package that is so far between 72 and 79, and maybe it's more, it's not going to be less. It just concerns me that we're not putting this up for a vote. I say 2 things. Let's have the people in our city make a decision on this, because I trust the people in our city. If there are families and they're willing to pay for it, God bless us all. Let's do it. But if they got concerns, we need to hear about it as well, because once we go forward and we're deciding this is where we're going to put a big nut of our money, and maybe in the future years on a Leahy as well, I'm not really sure. we need to take a look at this. And then I'm going to propose that we look at anything over a certain dollar amount. I put $50 million on it. It could be 60 million. I'm willing to work with anybody to find out what that dollar amount is. But right now we're between 72 and 79. And I want our people, our residents, to have a voice in this conversation. I know we had public participation. I know it was ample. I know we had 20 people or so, or maybe more, come out and speak tonight on that. We had 1 people during the public hearing, but I'd like to hear the voters having to say about this, and maybe they think that's a good thing. I'd like to have them have that decision on a big point such as this. And quite frankly, we're not going to get there. So 2 things to wrap up. 1, let's do the fixes. Let's not go with the MSBA. Let's do what needs to get done, and let's kick the can, buy some time, make sure that we're able to get what we need to get going, and then we can reevaluate not only that, but also the Leahy School. And then we can go forward and try to figure a comprehensive thing. Thank you very much, Councilor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Council President LaPlante. There is any other councilor that would like to speak on this matter before we call for a vote? Hearing
Councilor
none.
Rodriguez, myself, and Councilor Reyes have raised their hands.
Oh, okay. So, Councilor
Selena Reyes.
Councilor Payano raised his hand before me, so.
All right, Councilor Payano already had spoken on this behalf, so I would like to open the floor to you, and then I go back to him.
Okay, I would like to say we need to start. We need to move forward. We need to care about our children. It's not possible to see 30 children in one room. We need to move forward. We need to do everything we need to do to finding funding to support our community, our family, our workers, especially our children. Because when they had the right to have the vote tonight, he joined with us. But they don't have the right to join with us tonight. That's why we have 40 or 50 people advocate for our children, because we need to move forward. We need to do a small campaign to make impression to the different level. We need to do everything we need to do. But I'm asking, we need to vote tonight to support. It's not to support Mr. Pavel or Miss Selena, no. It's support our children. It's to provide the high quality education. It's not mean what dollar we increase or not. We need to working on that and moving forward and asking to the governor, asking to the mayor, what we need to do to have more funding to provide more quality education for our children. We are the minority, but we need to start on that. We need to support to rebuild our school, to support more better higher education for our children. We discussed for the single dollar. We need to start on that and looking and moving forward when we need to funding to support moving forward to our school. We mentioned we are making more housing, but we need to make it more school. When the people make concern about we don't have housing, the rent is too high. And also we don't have school to offer into our family. So we need to take it in consideration and support tonight and voting to moving forward for our family, for our community, especially for our children. Thank you.
Right, now we have Councilor Pavel Bayano.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. So no, I just want to state that, so 2 things. The first is that I think, throughout this process, many of us has had certain issues, whether it's regarding, the switching of the different projects, the cost. I think that there's definitely been some issues on it being presented to us. But I think, as Councilor Reyes said, like we got to move forward from that, and we got to stick to what the bottom line is and what the purpose of this project is. And I think, at the end of the day, exactly what Councilor Reyes mentioned, it's about the high quality education of our kids. One of the things that used to bother me insanely, still bothers me today when I was a school committee member, is that the policy of the state is to provide for an adequate education for the kids. If I told you that you were going to an adequate doctor, you wouldn't want to go there. If I told you you had an adequate dentist, adequate mechanic, I mean, you put adequate in front of anything and you're going to be like, I want something else. In this case, the current educational building that our kids are learning in, right? Again, in quotation marks, I would say far is below adequate. To the point that I think if there were other buildings in place, our kids wouldn't be there. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable sending my student to a school like that, because I'd be afraid that they'd be concentrated on other things and not their learning. Which is one of the reasons why I am so in favor of this particular this motion, and I'd rather us pass this today than wait 6 months, a year plus to start doing something else. One of the things that I also would like to mention, and I think that I would like to ensure, Councilor Rodriguez, that it's part of the motion, is at our last meeting, we were having a discussion regarding the, that we're going to be spending plus $100 million in the city of Lawrence. And if this passes, I think one of the things that we need to make sure is that this money that we are employing people from Lawrence, and that we're doing everything possible to, not just that the workers are from Lawrence, but that the companies that are getting bids are from Lawrence as well. So that way, this money, right, it's not just going to be money that we're spending and just leaves the city, but it's money that we're reinvesting doubly. And I say doubly because I don't think that there is no dollar value, at least on my opinion, there's no dollar value that I would put on the education of our kids, right? So one of the things, like I used to say when I was a school committee member, that all 15,000 students in LPS were my kids. I still think of that today. If I had children right now and someone said it's going to cost $1 million for them to go to school, I would start creating a plan and figuring out how I was going to afford that. I can't tell you the number of parents that I've met that have 3 jobs. I met this one individual that was delivering pizza for me. He was telling me how he has 2 other jobs and how his wife has 2 jobs. And I was like, wow, what is the reason? And what he said, besides that, the high cost of living here in Lawrence, is that he was trying to save up enough money so that way his kid can go to college, right? So if working class people in Lawrence are making those type of decisions and are essentially going out of their way, right, like sacrificing themselves for their youth, how can we not as a city do the same and ensure that we are all sacrificing ourselves for the youth of the city, the future of this city? When I was voted as a city councilor, I think one of the things that our residents, when they voted for us to make these type of decisions. I don't think necessarily that maybe it's not something that everyone will be happy with, but I know that I'll be able to have a conversation with anyone that's flustered or bothered about an increase in taxes. I am very confident that 99% of folks, once they are told and they're explained how this is an investment in the city, there's an investment in our youth, that we're gonna see an increase in the current business economy of the city, that more people are going to be having jobs. Potentially this means now that there's a new school that property values are going to go up. Folks are going to see this as not necessarily as a detriment, but as a positive. So with that, Councilor Rodriguez, is there any way to make sure that we hear from the clerk that the items that we put in at our last meeting are still included in this motion? And those were, I don't recall the language, but they were around, I think one of them was a report that they were going to be letting the city council, the city know, I think it was like twice a year, regarding what type of actions they are doing to ensure that people from Lawrence are being employed, that the companies that they're hiring, that some of them are from Lawrence, and then also as a whole, that the employers that they're hiring are from Lawrence as well, and that they're from communities of color.
Of course, we can definitely ask the clerk to clarify those quote statements or questions on regard to the matter that you just raised. That's very important. So, Ms. Clerk, do we have that information included from last week as part of the question?
So it was part of the motion, Councilor Rodriguez. I believe we voted on.
The motion last week was a little extended, so we can definitely go back and review that. Ms. Clerk, can you repeat the motion that we have from last week?
Counselor?
Yes.
So the motion that we have currently is a motion to approve the loan order to authorize borrowing of $132.3 million in the form presented by bond counsel Hinckley Allen, that the council is acknowledging their receipt of the CAFO's Section 8G certification regarding this borrowing, and further that a friendly amendment made by Councilor Papaziano was accepted that required an update to the council on the project every 6 months, and that this update needed to include whether or not the project was meeting the goals regarding the use of women and then we have the word option of BIPOC or minority businesses and labor, as well as local Lawrence businesses and labor. So that's the full complete motion in 3 parts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk.
And we kept that as a goal, not as a requirement.
That was the language in their, I believe it's in the borrowing authorization. So it is kept as a goal, because I think if you change that, you're going to change the form of the borrowing as presented by bond counsel Hinckley Allen. So I think that was part of the reason why it was kept as the word goal.
Okay. Is that clear, Councilor Papaziano?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I know that Maria de la Cruz, Councilor de la Cruz, have more questions or comments.
I wanted to recognize tonight Dave. I would like to recognize tonight Dave Driscoll, a man that went to Boston and came back with $110 million to build one of the best construction for the high school that we have in the Merrimack Valley. That happened a long time ago. He might be in glory because he did an excellent job. That's what we needed from the superintendent, from the commissioner of education, to go back to the budget in Boston and bring us money, because he knows this city. He understands how is this city. He lived in this city for about 4 years. Mr. Riley was here for 4 years, and he knew the kind of cities that he was living. Then we asking that tonight we have to do a very important vote, because we're doing a vote to education. Like a lot of people don't want to understand that we are here for education. But what we are seeing as well is that we're getting engaged in 2 proposals, because in 2 more months, we're going to have the Levy school with the same situation. A year ago, I was having people rallying in front of my house because we increased less than $20 in property taxes, less than $20. And we have people coming to my house complaining because I approved that. You know, we had somebody who came in, a financial person that came to the city of Lawrence, and he was explaining very clear the levy that we were in. That, thanks God, the gas explosion were paid by Columbia Gas. Otherwise, we would be more poor than anybody in Africa. And I understand that education comes first. But if we don't have the money and we don't know where we're going to get the money, then we are in chaos. Now we have the Oliver. Of course, we want 1,000 kids to be sitting in the best chair at the new Oliver School. But what's going to happen with the Oliver that is coming in 2 more months? What are we going to do? How are we going to solve the problems? one situation on top of the situation. I hope that some of the monies that we saying for the CARE Act, we can use it for education, for construction. I hope. And I hope that we don't get into a levy that is going to take us down, 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 because people are going to start moving out of Lawrence in 5 to 10 years. If we don't take care of the amount of money that is coming to the city and the amount of money that we have to pay on a monthly basis, then people keep sending messages, but you have to understand, as the city of Lawrence, we have to keep all the levels at the same level to move forward. Of course, we want education. Of course, we want the best teachers for our students. Of course, we want them to go to a very clean building. I know the Oliver is the worst place, the worst schools in the city. But we have to think about what's next. And we have to think about that we need the senator, we need the state rep, and we need Mr. Riley, the Commissioner of Education, to start begging for more money for the city of Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. There is any other councilor that wishes to speak on this matter before I call the question? Councilor Ana Levy.
Well, I would like to close asking to my fellow council to vote tonight in favor of this request or this item for the school. So let's start thinking in our children. Let's draw out our selfishness and make sure that we are thinking that our children need a better education, a better place to stay, a better place to go and to feel like they are safe. So let's move forward tonight on this item. Let's protect our children and give it to them a future for them to pursue a better education in their life. Because now is the moment. Now is the time that we should support our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ana Levy. Now, Council President LaPlante.
I'm not looking to speak on this matter. I just want to make sure, Mr. Chairman, when you called the question, there is very precise language that's going to be required in order to pass it. And I would encourage you to rely on the city clerk to give that language before the vote takes place.
Yes, thank you so much, Council President. I will definitely do that. There is any other councilor that wishes to speak on this matter? Councillor Gonzalez.
The price is 132. The price of the school.
Yes, 132.3.
Thank you, sir.
All right, councilors. Now we're gonna ask our city clerk to please read the language that is required before we call the vote, to be included as it is as a requirement for the vote. So, Ms. Clerk, can you please read the language that is required for this vote?
It's lengthy, so just bear with me, Counselor, and then I will add the amendment at the end. The bond authorization reads that the order is hereby appropriates $132,300,000 to pay the cost of reconstruction and constructing additions to the Oliver Partnership School located at 183 Haverhill Street, Lawrence, Mass., including the payment of all costs related to design of the project, demolishing portions of the existing building, equipping and furnishing the school, and all other costs incidental and related thereto. The project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, and for which the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Oliver Partnership Elementary School Building Committee, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer will, with the approval of the mayor, be authorized to borrow said amount pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7(1), and or Mass General Law, Chapter 70(b), or pursuant to any other enabling authority, in addition, any bonds or notes of the city, therefore, that the city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and that any project cost the city incurs in excess of the grant approved and received by the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, providing further that any grant the city may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 80% of eligible approved project costs as determined by MSBA or the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA. The amount of borrowing authorized by this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may exist between the city and the MSBA. It is further ordered that any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds, notes, or approvals by this order, less any premium applied to the payment of costs, issuances of such bonds or notes shall be applied to the payment of the costs approved for by this order in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the appropriate officials of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to qualify under Chapter 44A of the General Laws and all bonds of the city authorized to be borrowed pursuant to this loan order, and to provide such information and to execute such documents as such officials of the Commonwealth may require in connection therewith. Further, it is noted that the council acknowledges receiving the CAFCO Section 8G certification regarding this borrowing, and the friendly amendment to this document is included to require an update to the city council on the project every 6 months, and that this update needs to include whether or not the project was meeting the goals regarding the use of women and minority/BIPOC businesses and labor, as well as local Lawrence businesses and labor.
So the motion has been set. The discussion on this matter has been already open and closed. If there is any other opinion from the councilors, we definitely can do that. If it's not, we're ready to call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Marcelo Rodriguez?
Yes, we're calling the question, Mr. Maria de la Cruz, Miss Maria de la Cruz.
Before the calling, I just have a question for the superintendent. The 70, chapter 70 money, can that money be used toward the school construction
No,
as well?
no.
Okay.
All right, now we're calling the question. Roll call, please.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor de la Cruz.
I'm preceding the item, so I'm last.
Yes, Councilor de la Cruz. Councilor de la Cruz.
Councilor de la Cruz, your vote?
Say yes.
She said yes.
I'm on mute.
Councilor Payano.
Yes.
Councilor Abdul. Noted. Councilor Selena Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
You're on mute, Councilor.
No, sorry.
Councilor Rodriguez.
My vote is yes. What is the numbers on the vote?
Six yes, 1 no.
And 2 are not here today. All right, councilors, this item has been approved. And now the guy will go back to Council President LaPlante to
Thank you
continue.
very much, Councilor Rodriguez, and great job chairing that tough portion of the meeting. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Councilors, it is getting a little later. It's 9:38. I could go through this list. If you're like me right now, where I'm kind of spent after that discussion, I'm probably not going to go unless there's any other documents in the table items that anybody wants to take off this evening. Hearing none, I'm probably going to push that off to another meeting. unless somebody feels strongly about it. And then we'll go right to new business. Document 6921, handicap parking deletion at 17 Willoughby Street, put on by Councilor Selena Reyes and Council Vice President Stella Reyes, is going to the Ordinance Committee. And the 7121, the FY21 firefighter safety equipment grant program of $25,999.98 by Chief Moriarty is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Councilors, let's go through committee meetings. There's not going to be an ordinance committee meeting coming up because of the lack of issues there. I just talked to the chair. Budget and finance, the chair is not here. Does anybody want to take a stab? You've got one item. You could probably do it next Wednesday, Mr. Payano, Mr. Rodriguez, and Miss Levy. Is that what you want to do?
That's for
Budget and finance.
Budget and finance, we have one item. Yes, we're gonna meet. I mean, are you councilors, are you willing to? We're gonna meet, yes.
Okay, that's next Wednesday.
And regular time.
7 o'clock next Wednesday. Housing Committee?
We have no item today, right?
I don't see any. And Personnel Committee, I don't see any items as well. So I only Public Safety is coming up, right?
Yes, councilors, there was a request by Chief Vasquez for us to move our meeting tomorrow to a different date because he's not in this week. I think since some of the items are things that we require his presence, I think it'd be great for us to move that meeting. Just wanted to make sure that the other councilors were okay with that.
Yes.
Okay. Does Monday of next week work for your schedule since we don't have a housing meeting? Monday at 7, councilors?
Yeah, we can do
This
that.
coming Monday?
Yes, next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, Mr. President, so Public Safety will be meeting on Monday at 6:30?
Yes.
Yep, Monday at 6:30.
Councilor, Mr. President, can you recommit one item from the table matters to the safety committee?
Mr. Rodriguez, what did you have in mind?
There is one item on the table matters. This is in regard to the auxiliary police, 14818, Lawrence Auxiliary Police. It was put together by Councilor Payano and myself, and it came back to the full council. But I mean, there is things that we should be talking about the safety committee now on that item.
That's fine. So upon your recommendation, Mr. Pound, I'm sure you don't have any objections to this, so I'll just send that back down. We'll send that back down to the Public Safety Committee where it went before and do what you need to do with it. That's great. Anything else, councilors? I think that's it for committee meetings. So at this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Made by Councilor Payano, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. No discussion. I'll call the question. Actually, I'll ask for the roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
I vote yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes, Councilor Estela Reyes,
She's not back.
okay, Councilor President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. Good night, everybody, and have good meetings next week, and we'll see you on May the 4th, if not sooner. Thank you.
No.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Good